Meeting of the Program Management Committee meeting. Tuesday, January 31st, 2023, 7:30 a.m. Can I get a roll call?
Yes, we'll note that all trustees are in attendance with Trustee Fair online.
Approval of the committee minutes, January 3rd, 2023.
So move approval.
Second.
Roll comments by the chair. Engineering Department agenda items.
Good morning, trustees. A number of items this morning. First item on the agenda is the CSO volume reduction green infrastructure, the Forest Park Waterways project. This ordinance requests some additional funds and authorize staff to enter into agreement with Forest Park Forever, provide financial assistance through the Green Infrastructure Grant Program for construction of green infrastructure. The purpose of this project is to reduce combined sewer overflows to the river to Pear per the long-term control plan and the consent decree. This project will reduce runoff with the installation of 2 bioretention basins and an interconnected lake system with weirs for additional stormwater storage. The total revised cost, this is a second appropriation on this project. The total revised cost of the overall project is $2,536,200. On May 13th, 2021, we appropriated $1,214,000. Forest Park Forever is requesting an additional $1,322,200 reimbursement for the cost of green infrastructure. The additional request provides CSO retention within the requirements of the CSO Green Infrastructure Program. There's a map included in your package, shows the location of the project. Basically, they're adding some bioretention to some surface water to capture that before it goes into the lakes. And additionally, they're increasing the height of the weirs or the overflows for the existing lake structure, which increases the amount of storage. And these lakes do drain into the combined sewer overflow system. So this retains that water during rain events and delays it from getting into the system. Are there any questions?
So that's right by the post-dispatch pond?
Yes, it is. It's I'm trying to think. And actually there's several lakes, but I think that's the main one, yes.
Yeah.
The next item is the Harlem Basin Relief Phase 4. Hamilton to Darver Trunk Sewer Project. This action appropriates funds and authorizes staff to enter into a construction contract. The work to be done consists of construction of approximately 3,800 lineal feet of pipe sewers from 12 inches to 108 inches in diameter and appurtenances. This construction is the fourth phase of a multi-phase improvement project. The purpose of this project is to reduce building backups and to alleviate wet weather surcharging and overlying flooding to the combined sewer system downstream. The district received 4 bids on this job. The low bid was from Keeley Construction Group Incorporated. The low bid was above the designer's estimate, and our 2-year appropriation of $19,500,000 is above the 2-year planned budget. Fiscal year 23 will have an appropriation of $6 million, which is equivalent to what we have in the budget for this year. The fiscal year 24 will be increased to $13.5 million to accommodate the difference. Keeley is committed to just over 17% MBE participation and meets the goal for the project. This project was significantly over our estimate and the budget. There was a small scope increase on a larger diameter pipe to avoid coming back on a future project onto one of the properties, but basically the increased costs are, one, inflationary cost. We're seeing most of our bids anywhere from 10 to 25% higher than what we have, obviously, due to the current climate we're in. But also this job has some significant access issues and some constraints on the amount of time that it's going to take to get through the properties. it's a large junkyard for cars that have to be moved, and we have to accommodate to be in there and out of there. And then also there's a potential for some contaminated soil that we may run into on the project, so we've included some contingency and costs on that. So that's kind of what we're seeing. Right now, the overall budget for the fiscal year 23, right now, we're just slightly under budget by about 2.7 million, but we're only in February, so we're really keeping an eye on the overall budget for the capital program. We've seen some increased costs on items, so I'll keep reporting on a monthly basis where we stand on that. But right now, we're under the budget, mainly because we were under budget on a lot of the design projects earlier in the year. So, but again, we've got some projects yet to be bid. We also do have some projects that are going to have to be delayed into fiscal year 24, so that gives us some fiscal year 23 relief. Any questions? Next item is the Amblewood sanitary relief. This appropriates funds and authorizes staff to enter into a construction contract. The work consists of construction of approximately 2,500 lineal feet of sanitary sewers from 10 to 24 inches in diameter. The purpose of this project is to alleviate wet weather surcharging and building backups along Paddock Creek Lateral in Florissant, Missouri. The district received 6 bids on this project. The low bid was from Understall Contracting. The bid was just above the designer's estimate, and our appropriation, including $274,000 for utility relocation, is $2,650,000, and is just slightly above the original budget. The work to be done, again, we talked about that. The MWB participation on this project is just over 17%, which meets our 17% African American goal. Next item is a Florissant Dunn sanitary relief. This appropriates funds and authorizes staff to enter a construction contract. The work to be done consists of construction of approximately 6,100 feet of 8 to 24-inch diameter sanitary sewers. The purpose of this project is to reduce building backups and relieve overcharged sanitary sewers. The district received 7 bids for this project. The low bid was from J.H. Barra Construction. The bid was above our design estimate, and our appropriation of $5,680,000, which includes $200,000 for utility relocation and contingencies, is above our budget for the project. The total MWBE participation is just over 17% African American, which meets our 17% goal for the project. The next item is Abyssal Coldwater, Missouri Merrimack Public I&I Contract D. This appropriates funds and authorizes staff to enter into a construction contract. The work consists of the rehabilitation of approximately 58,000 feet of sanitary sewers from 6 to 30 inches in diameter, utilizing the cured in place pipe method. We'll be rehabilitating 59 manholes, repairing 808 service connections, and making 23 point repairs on this project. The purpose of this project is to reduce infiltration and inflow into the Fenton Creek, Fishpot Creek, and Grand Glaze Creek watersheds. The district received 2 bids on this project. The low bid was from In Situ Form Technologies. The bid is above the design estimate, and our appropriation of $4.4 million is above the budget for the project. The district on this particular project has a MWBE goal of 10% minority and 10% women. These CIPP projects are funded through a state revolving fund loan program, which has a 10% and 10% goal. In Situ Farm is committed to that goal at 20.25% MWBE participation. Excuse me. Next two items are both design, a consultant supplemental appropriations to existing contract. First one is the Harlem-Baden Relief Phase 4 Hebert Design Project. This appropriates additional funds and authorizes staff to amend a design contract. The ordinance authorizes the district to enter amendment number 21 with Parsons Water and Infrastructure for the design of Harlem-Baden Hebert Design. This project overall consists of the design and preparation of construction documents for 25,000 feet of 12 to 96-inch diameter sewers, approximately 8,100 feet of 10-inch to 66-inch diameter sanitary sewers, and a 9-acre, 2.5 cubic feet detention basin and land needed for that. This project will alleviate basement backups for approximately over 130 properties. This appropriation of $100,000 is for construction phase services on the Hamilton to Darver trunk sewer, which was the project I brought to you earlier, for construction phase services and review of shop drawings and answer questions during that construction. The Parsons Water Infrastructure has a current participation of 31.9% MWBE at this time, and their goal for the project was 20%. Are there any questions? All right, the next one is the Harlem-Baden Phase 4 Trunk Sewer Rehabilitation Project. This appropriates funds and authorizes staff to amend a design contract. An amendment will authorize the district to enter amendment number 3 with GS&P Missouri to provide design services for the Harlem-Baden Trunk Sewer Rehabilitation Project. This project is a lump sum for the design and rehabilitation of approximately 7,000 feet of 8 to 12-inch diameter horseshoe sewers, 110,000 square feet of shotcrete liner, 1,250 feet of cured-in-place pipe, and 6,400 square feet of spot repairs. The purpose of this project is to eliminate building backups and flooding due to overcharged sanitary sewers. The preliminary cost for the construction of this job is $4 million. This is actually a job that's currently under construction by the Corps of Engineers with our CSO cooperating agreement. So the district funds a portion of that, and the Corps actually constructs the project and administers the project with federal funding in addition to ours. The appropriation for construction phase services of $25,000 is $25,000 below what we originally had planned. Again, these services include review of construction drawings and working with the Corps during the process of the project. GS&P of Missouri currently has a participation of about 30.45% MWB at this time. This project was selected, and there was no goal at the time, so their participation, again, is about 30.5%. All right. I'm going to talk about the next three items together. They're all contract renewals for geotechnical services to support the district staff. They are the general services agreement, geotechnical contracts A, B, and C. The ordinance authorizes the district to enter amendment number 1 with on contract A, Wrights and Gens Incorporated, contract B, Geotechnology Incorporated, and contract C, Geosyntec Consultants Incorporated. The services to be provided include rock and soil analysis testing, recommendation, evaluation, foundation, slopes, and bedding for project to be completed either by my in-house staff or design consultants. Projects are issued by letter agreement per individual scope of services. This contract amendment there's a total of $85,000, and that's $85,000 for each of the three contracts. This is the only renewal, so this is the second year. We'll renew for just this second year. Reaching each contract value, we'll have a total of $170,000. Next year, we'll put this service back out, seeking proposals for this type of service. Funding for these 3 projects, the first, contract A is going to be funded for stormwater projects, so the funding comes out of the district stormwater fund. The contracts B and C, the funding comes from our sanitary replacement funds, and those geotechnical services will support those sanitary projects. On the MWBE side, there was a commitment of 20% on the Rights and Gents project and 25% on the other 2. There was no MWBE goal on these projects. All right, just a couple more items. Next one is a resolution for standard construction specifications for sewer and drainage facilities. This action revises the standard construction specifications for the district. The standard constructions for sewer and drainage facilities are occasionally reviewed to assure compliance with construction practices. During this review, the specifications are revised to incorporate changes in materials, type of allowable construction, clarify methods of payment, and any new legal requirements, and to incorporate into the technical specifications which have become standard since the last revision. This concludes over a year-long process of reviewing our standard specs with both my internal staff here at MSD, outside stakeholders, including the contractors, and coordination of suggested modification. On completion of the review process, the proposed revisions were posted for the public comment, which resulted in no significant comments being made. This is the 9th time that our standard specs have been reviewed since the district's been in existence. And basically, you're providing a resolution that ratifies these standard construction specifications. Questions? All right, one last item. This is for the impervious surface delineation services. This ordinance authorizes the district to enter a contract with Ecopia Tech Corporation. The purpose of this project is to delineate impervious surface footprints over the entire MSD service area in support of various engineering calculations and to determine the area of impervious surface footprints that are contained within each parcel address in support of the stormwater rate proposal. The district received 4 proposals and considered on this project. And they were selected based on cost, project understanding, and the methodology used. The district performs this services every other year and does this calculation. Again, there's no appropriation on this project. The cost of $108,500 is coming from the engineering department operating budget. Are there any questions? That concludes.
Thank you, Rich. There's no other business. Next tentative meeting date, February 28th, 2023. Can I get a motion for adjournment?
So moved.
Second.
Trustee Fair will let you know when we're ready. Trustee Fair, we're ready when you are.
Can you all hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Good morning. This is the 287th meeting of the Finance Committee of Metropolitan St. Louis Sewer District. Is there a roll call?
Yep, we will note that all trustees are in attendance and you are online.
Thank you, Tim. Motion for approval of the minutes from January 3rd.
So move. Second.
Minutes are approved. Thank you. Is there a financial status update?
Good morning. I have the first two items on the agenda, and then I'll turn it back over to Tim. So the first item is the key performance indicator report. So Stephanie, if you could go to that graph, thank you. I will start with the graph in the top right-hand corner. This graph depicts our forecast of our user charges, which are wastewater charges for both our residential and commercial customers. Right now, we're forecasting a favorable variance of $5.7 million through the end of the fiscal year. The bulk of that is coming from our residential customers. Their forecasted revenues are forecasted to be $4.6 million more than what we budgeted, and our commercial revenues are forecasted to be $1.1 million more than the budget. So it's kind of nice to see our revenue streams, especially in the commercial sector, kind of stabilize a little bit. I think we're kind of getting back to pre-pandemic revenue amounts, and so we're seeing that revenue stream become more stable. Okay, moving over to the next graph, which shows our budget forecast for our three primary budgets, which are debt service, our operating, and our capital budget. We're forecasting a $7.1 million favorable budget variance for those three items. The bulk of that is within our operating budget. Most of that is savings due to salaries that we're seeing primarily due to vacant positions. In the lower left-hand corner of the graph, this depicts our debt coverage ratios, which we track. It gives us a good indication of our ability to pay back our debt. It's one of the key ratios that our rating agencies look at when we go to do bond issuances. This graph depicts that we're exceeding our both our target and the goals that we put in our last rate proposal for this particular ratio. They're very strong in terms of our senior and our all-in ratio, which is all of our debt. So doing very well in this area. Moving to the next graph, which is our total delinquencies and our average collection period. Our average collection period has been relatively stable over the past several fiscal years. Right now, we're at about 54 days. It is exceeding our target of 45 days, though. Are there any questions regarding this particular document? Okay, if not, I will move on to our Adjustment Review Committee report. As required by our wastewater ordinance, I'm presenting this particular report, which shows our adjustments for the quarter of October of 2022 through December of 2022. We had a grand total of 37 adjustments, which totaled about $380,000. It's a negative amount, which means that we refunded this amount to our customers. If you look at the first section of the report, which is titled Adjustments, it depicts that there are 36 adjustments totaling approximately $372,000. The bulk of those adjustments were water agency adjustments, which totaled about $438,000. These particular adjustments are reads that we get from the water utilities that need to be adjusted because either the meters are incorrect or the customer had some kind of leak. To give you just in terms of order of magnitude, we had one particular adjustment during the quarter that we received from City Water, which was for $261,000. They had a meter that had been malfunctioning for several months. And so it was for a large commercial customer, so we had to make that adjustment. Moving down the graph, you'll see under the write-off sections, we had one write-off, which was due to a sheriff sale. That was about $8,000. The last section of the document depicts other billings. These are actual billings that we do. And you'll see that we billed Richardson Landfill for $30,000 in accordance with the agreement we have with them to treat their effluent. And then Missouri American Water, we billed about $738,000 for treatment expenses associated with our Lower Merrimack plant. Are there any questions regarding the adjustment report? Okay, if not, I will turn it over to Tim.
All right, thank you, Marion. I just have two items today. The first one is the monthly operating fund portfolio that we look at every month, the four-grid page. So I'm going to start in the upper left with the summary statistics. Our par amount this month was about 19 million higher than last month. That's primarily due to collection of property taxes that happened at the beginning of the year. So total portfolio is about 720 million. Yield to maturity of our portfolio was up almost 30 basis points. It's at 2.2, and the benchmark is at 4.31. That's down about 16 basis points. So we're narrowing that gap. Again, that benchmark turns over entirely every month. So it's basically a market rate. Our portfolio, we have some old rates locked in, and we only turn over a portion of the portfolio every month. We actually had a 91 million that we reinvested this month, which is a relatively high amount because of those property tax receipts. And the new investments were at 4.57%, which is higher than the benchmark. So the new investments, we were able to get a better than market rate. Just the overall portfolio still tied down from some older investments still. So that'll slowly turn over. Our weighted average maturity is usually lower than benchmark because we use a lot of our funds for operations, so we need them accessible, or the benchmark, there's nothing shorter or much shorter than a year out. If I move over to sector allocation, this is where we compare our portfolio policy limits. We are within the policy limits. We're pretty high on commercial paper compared to the policy limit, but still under it. That's usually where we can get shorter term, higher return paper. So we are pretty heavily there. The fund summary in the bottom left, you can see that there's not a comparison here, but not a big change month to month. The bulk of our funds are in MSD operations. The debt project funds, which are pretty short, do have a yield to maturity at or just a little bit above the benchmark. Those are our most recent investments, a lot of them. And the maturity distribution in the bottom right just shows the maturity comparison between our portfolio and the benchmark. We are the blue bars. You can see we usually have around 45 to 50% in that 0 to 1 years, whereas the benchmark has less than 10%. Since the benchmark's concentrated in 1 to 3 years, we're a little bit more spread out. Any questions about the operating fund portfolio? Not, I will move to the final item on the finance agenda, and that is just an update on the management audit. I know you've seen a draft of the management audit, so I'm just here today to report that the management audit is now complete. There were no changes to the draft that you saw. The final report has been issued by UHY, the auditors. It is going to be added to our intranet site so that all employees have access to it. It is currently available on our website through the public documents portal. So the public does have access to the report. It includes MSD management responses to the item. So I'm just going to summarize those really quickly, just as a reminder. So there were 4 issues identified from the auditors that will enhance or improve either management controls or usually fraud controls. So one is our whistleblower program. The recommendation was to create training and a policy and procedures for employees so they know how to use it, they know that it's there and what it's for. Also create then a response timeline from management. We agree with that recommendation, and that is underway. There was a recommendation on the discipline policy that be updated regularly to ensure that expectations are established and that actions are consistent and reported correctly. So the discipline policy has been reviewed and will be posted shortly. There was an item on segregation or separation of duties. The recommendation was to improve processes around separation of duties, use system capabilities to validate that the conflicts do not exist. We are taking care of that with the implementation of the new Oracle Cloud ERP that we've talked about in some of these meetings before. That will be done then later in the year. And then the last issue that was identified was a recommendation for a board audit charter, and that was to update an audit charter, create and update an audit charter that outlines the authority, roles, and responsibilities of management and trustees as oversight. That is also a recommendation from our internal audit group, Armanino. So internal audit is taking the lead in that, and I think we'll have something for you in March to review and comment on. There were also 4 process improvement opportunities that were identified. One was related to fraud risk. The recommendation there is to create a fraud awareness prevention policy, perform risk assessments more frequently. We do perform risk assessments because of COVID. We did skip a year, so we're going to get back to doing those 2 to 3 times a year. And then internal audit, again, is taking the lead in creating a fraud awareness prevention program for employees. The next process improvement opportunity was called employee responsibility for controls. And the recommendation is that we redesign the job descriptions and require formal acknowledgement from employees that they understand their controls. This is the one item that was presented that we disagreed with and pushed back on. We believe that the regular audits that we do require regular policy acknowledgements from employees. We have annual performance reviews. We have regular ongoing training and supervision. We think that what we're doing there is sufficient. We noted that in our response. UHY did note that they stand by their recommendation, so I wanted to pass that on. 2 more process improvement opportunities. One was related to employee recommendations. The recommendation there is to create a formal mechanism for employees to provide recommendations or input in a review process. So that is something that we are adding to our enhanced whistleblower hotline, and will be rolled out later this quarter is the plan. And the final one is a risk management assessment process and procedures to identify, assess, and document risks and their potential impact during the business planning process. We do regularly think about risk and how we address it. This would just be more formally documenting and identifying those risks, which makes it easier to communicate and can help us when we are talking with the public or with the board about what we're trying to do with the management decisions that we're making. So that is again available now to the public and will be added to the intranet also shortly. Are there any questions about the management audit? All right, Trustee Fair, that's all we had for the Finance Committee this morning.
All right, thank you, Tim. Thank you, Marion. Our next tentative meeting date is February 28th, 2023. Is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
Thank you. Meeting is concluded.
Trustee Wilson, we'll get things switched out for the next meeting. We're ready, Trustee Wilson.
Okay, good morning. I'd like to welcome you to the Stakeholder Relations Committee meeting for February 2023. Can I get a roll call, please?
Yep, the record will reflect that all trustees are in attendance, including Trustee Fair, who is online.
Thank you. I have no comments. Can I get approval of the motion to approve the committee meeting minutes of
Second.
January? Okay, with no objection, the minutes are approved. Ms. Meyer, you're first up.
Good morning.
Good morning.
The proposed resolution 3814 is a resolution for renewal of a contract with Shands, Gilbert, Johnalakis, and Giljam. I usually refer to them as Shands because it's a lot easier, but this is to continue for them to provide specialized legal consulting services on matters involving stormwater and wastewater rate consulting and associated regulations, policies on an as-needed basis. Primarily, Bob Murray provides us some support, legal support, when we're developing the rate proposals. He's been doing this for a number of years. This is the second contract we've had with them, and this resolution is for a renewal year to that contract. Any questions? Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Meyer. Our next item. Mr. Stone, good morning.
Good morning, thank you. Proposed resolution 3816 will authorize the district to execute a single source agreement with Standpoint for public engagement services. The original contract for this provided an initial year with 3 option years. This provides 1 additional year for public engagement services, after which the contract will go out for competitive selection. Are there any questions?
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Mr. Stone.
Thank you.
Moving right along, an update from the executive director?
Yeah, I do have one. I want to let you know that I will announce at the next Thursday's board meeting that the Board of Trustees will be electing new officers at the end of the March board meeting. These will be for 2-year terms for both the chair and the vice chair. First, the city-appointed trustees will select a county-appointed trustee as chair. Then the county-appointed trustees will select a city-appointed trustee as vice chair. These new appointments will take effect on March 16th per board rules. I'll be forwarding the exact details of how we do this to the trustees, and I'll do it prior to the February board meeting. Are there any questions? That's all I have, Trustee Wilson.
Thank you. Does anyone have any new business or any announcements or information for the good of the body? Not, I'll entertain a motion for adjournment.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, thank you. Pleasure of my life again. The meeting is
Thank you, everyone.
That was quick.